Hi everyone, I'm Ali with the Rediscovery Centre and welcome to this virtual workshop where we will explore exactly what energy is, where it comes from and how we can save it. But before we get into that, a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Ali and I work for the Rediscovery Centre based in Ballymun, County Dublin, which is the National Centre for the Circular Economy. At the Rediscovery Centre, we are really passionate about the environment and we want to teach other people how to live their lives the same way. We focus a lot on waste, trying to stop things being thrown out by showing you how you can use waste to create some really cool things. So we take in items like furniture, fabrics, bikes and paint, and we will repair and upcycle them so that they can be used by somebody else. Like these chairs here. When they came into us, they were broken and a little bit grubby looking, but we took them apart, cleaned them up, spruced them up a little bit, and I think you'll agree, they're looking pretty good. The guitars here were also made from broken furniture. Can anyone guess what they used to be? Wardrobes, a really cool use of materials, which otherwise would have ended up in landfill. And we work with a lot of recycling centres all around the country. We take in old bikes that people have gotten rid of or no longer want. We bring them back to our workshops, clean them up, take them apart, and then we'll rebuild them, making any repairs and tweaks that need to be made. The only new parts we will put on a bike is brakes for safety. Otherwise, all of the parts are recycled from old bikes. In our fashion department, we take in unwanted textiles and clothes, and we will repair and upcycle them so that they can be reused. Sometimes we work on some pretty funky projects like this raincoat you can see here, which has been made from torn IKEA shopping bags. But another huge thing we do at the Rediscovery Centre is education, and that is my job. Normally we go around to schools and libraries all across the country, but now we do virtual workshops like this one, all to do with the environment as well as science, engineering and maths. Today, we are going to be talking all about energy. What exactly is energy? Does anyone have any ideas? You can pause the video here and have a chat if you'd like. Everything we do every day is connected to energy in one way or another. Energy makes things happen. We need it to switch on the lights, heat our homes, cook our food. Cars, trains, and planes need energy in order to move. Machinery in factories need energy to make things for us to use or food for us to eat. Plants and trees need energy to grow. We need energy to run, read, write, think, stand up, sit down. Everything we do involves energy. Can anyone think of examples of something they did today which used energy? From the moment you woke up to now, could you list all of the activities you did using energy? Maybe you got a lift to school in a car, turned on the lights in your bedroom when you woke up, made yourself a nice breakfast. Pause the video here and see how long a list you can make of all of the ways you've used energy so far today. Now, energy comes in lots and lots of different forms, like potential energy, which is stored energy ready and waiting to be used. Kinetic energy, which is the energy of moving things. Light, heat, and sound energy. Electrical energy, chemical energy, gravitational energy. You need a lot of energy just to be able to list them all off. We're going to look at energy existing in two different states. Kinetic energy, which is moving energy, and potential energy, which is stored energy. Now, energy is the ability to do work. When the work is actually being done, we say that that energy is kinetic. But when the work is waiting to be done, or where there is potential for work to be done, we call that potential energy. So, for example, a rubber band launched from your finger has kinetic energy. But while it is stretched, waiting to be released, it has potential energy. And there are lots of examples of each. Light, heat, sound, and wind are all examples of moving energy. If you look at the light bulb above your head, The light energy moves from the source and spreads around the room. If you sit on one side of the classroom, you can still feel the heat, which has moved from the radiator on the other side of the room. If your friend shouts at you from across the yard, the sound moves from their mouth all the way to your ear. Potential energy is energy which is stored to be used later, like the chemical energy stored in batteries or the petrol in the tank of my car. That potential energy can then be turned into kinetic energy. Like when I turn my car on, the potential energy in my petrol tank can be turned into light, sound, heat, and movement energy. This is called energy transformation. So we can't actually make energy or destroy energy. All we can do is change energy from one form to another. Let's look at a few examples. When we turn on a torch, chemical energy stored in the batteries is converted into light energy. When we turn on the TV, electrical energy turns into light and sound energy, and a small amount of heat energy is also produced. When we talk on a mobile phone, the sound we make with our voice is turned into electromagnetic waves and transmitted through the air. The speaker of the phone on the other end changes the electromagnetic waves back into sound energy. Even our bodies do energy transformations. We eat food, which is stored in our tummies as potential chemical energy. We can then turn that energy into kinetic energy to let us walk, run, speak, write, talk, think, everything. Okay, I want you all to stand up. Come on, stand up. Note how you're feeling right now. How hot or cold are you? How fast is your heart beating? How loudly are you breathing? Okay, I want you to run on the spot for 30 seconds. I mean it now, a full 30 seconds. Pause the video now and get jogging. Okay, do you feel any different now? Are you maybe hotter than you were before? Is your heart beating faster? Were your feet noisy or quiet while you were running? You just converted the chemical energy in your food into movement energy as you ran, heat energy as you got warmer, sound energy from your feet, and even vibrational energy in the floor. Whew, hard work, these energy conversions, am I right? You can sit back down now. So we've seen that we need lots of energy to do lots of things every single day. But where does our energy actually come from? Well, we can split energy sources into two large groups. These are called renewable and non-renewable. Some sources of energy are renewable. What that means is that these sources won't run out or be used up. If we use those sources today, they will be replaced within our lifetime. For example, if we harness the sun's energy today, it'll still shine tomorrow. Other sources of energy are non-renewable. Once we use up these sources of energy, they will not be replaced within our lifetime. They are at risk of running out if we use too much of them. And one of these groups is better for the planet than the other. Can anyone think which one is better? Which one might be worse? Let's take a look at some of these sources of energy in a little bit more detail. So oil is a dark, sticky liquid which was formed from plankton and algae that lived in the oceans between 90 and 150 million years ago. These creatures were crushed under ocean pressure over millions of years, and the oil formed in rocks, almost like water being trapped in a sponge. To get access to the oil, we have to drill down into these rocks, and this can be dangerous work. Oil rigs can explode, and if oil spills into the nearby ocean, it can make fish and birds really sick. We use oil to heat our homes and to make electricity. Peat, or turf, as you might have heard of it being called before, is made up of old plants and mosses, which were squished together in wet, boggy land. When we dig up peat, we can change the landscape it grows in. which means we can affect the plants and animals that live there. Coal was formed from the remains of plants, which died millions of years ago and were squeezed and compressed together at the bottom of a swamp. When we want to get access to coal, we have to dig deep down into the ground. And when we burn coal, it releases carbon dioxide gas. Natural gas also came from prehistoric algae and plankton, which lived millions and millions of years ago. The most common form of gas we use today is called methane, which is the same gas that is released when our rubbish breaks down in landfill. We also have to drill for gas, like we did with oil, and burning it also releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, nuclear energy is a little bit different. Everything in the world is made up of atoms. They're the teeny tiny building blocks that make up everything in the universe. Sometimes when we split these atoms in half, they release energy in the form of heat. But this process produces toxic radioactive waste, which can be lethal if not stored correctly. In big nuclear power plants, they pump water into the building to cool down the machinery. And then the heated up water gets pumped back out to rivers and lakes, which can harm plant and animal life. Now, we all produce lots of waste in Ireland. And if we sent it all to landfill, we'd have no space left to live in. So instead, waste is sometimes burned, and this can give us energy. This is called energy recovery. However, this is not great for the planet, as it releases harmful greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Now, like I said, there are lots of different ways we can get energy. In Ireland, we're surrounded by water, and sometimes those waters can get pretty rough and wild. Surfers love these waves, but we can also use them to harness energy. Turbines under the water's surface can capture the kinetic energy of moving water and turn it into electrical energy for us to use. But this is quite an expensive method, so it's not super common just yet. Wind energy has been used for a long time to power sailboats and windmills, and now we can use it to make electricity. The wind spins the blades of those huge wind turbines, and once you can get something moving, you can use that movement to power a generator and make energy. Now, as we all know, gravity makes things fall, and water is no exception. In hydropower stations, water falls from high areas to lower ones, and the energy of the moving water can be collected and used by humans. Now, this isn't a new idea. Water was first used to make electricity in the 19th century, over 150 years ago. Geothermal energy is all about using the Earth's natural temperatures to our advantage. Deep beneath the Earth's crust, about 4,000 miles deep, there's a layer of magma, which is super hot. Rocks and water below the Earth's surface absorb that heat, and we can dig wells and pump the hot water to the surface for us to use. It's common in countries like Iceland, where naturally heated swimming pools are a great way to relax. Biomass means burning organic matter to produce energy. This can be anything from food to crops to animal waste. Yeah, that means poop. And this has been happening for thousands of years. People have been burning wood to heat and cook their food for centuries. Biomass gets its energy from the sun. Plants absorb sunlight and use it to make food. And speaking of the sun, we can also harness the sun's energy. We can do this using solar panels, and we can convert the sun's energy to heat our homes, heat water, and to make electricity. In 1 hour, the sun produces enough energy to meet the Earth's energy demands for a whole year. Seems like a no-brainer to me to start capturing some of this energy. Okay, so we've looked at a lot of different sources of energy there, but the question is, do you know which are renewable and which are non-renewable? Remember, renewable sources of energy will not run out if we use them, while non-renewable sources will not regenerate within our lifetime. I'm going to show you 6 different sources of energy, and you need to decide whether they are renewable or non-renewable. Are you ready? Okay, oil, renewable or non-renewable? Have a guess and shout it out. Non-renewable. Okay, remember, oil formed from plankton and algae, which lived about 100 million years ago. Next up, wind, renewable or non-renewable? Renewable. If we harness energy from the wind today, the wind will still blow tomorrow. All right, okay. How about heat? Heat is non-renewable. Peat grows super slowly, about 1 millimeter a year. So it would take a very long time to replace all of the peat that we've used up. How about water? Renewable. The water cycle means that water will keep on flowing. Okay, next up is coal. What do you think? Coal is non-renewable. Coal also took millions and millions of years to form. Last up is the sun. Make your guesses now. Renewable. Very nice job. Well done. So we can get energy from lots of different sources. But do you think we rely more on renewable or non-renewable sources of energy in Ireland? How much electricity do you think comes from renewable sources in Ireland? Pause the video here and have a guess. We definitely use more non-renewable sources of energy. Only about 1/3 of all of the electricity we use comes from renewable sources of energy. And most of that is from wind energy. That means that 2/3 of all of the electricity we use every day comes from burning fossil fuels. We rely on other countries to supply us with these fossil fuels, and burning them can cause lots of environmental problems, both for us here in Ireland and for other citizens all across the globe. 90% of the energy used on planet Earth globally comes from fossil fuels, and these will eventually run out. At the rate we're using them, oil will be gone by the middle of the century. Gas supplies will be gone by the year 2070, and we only have about 200 years left before all of the coal on Earth is used up as well. When we burn fossil fuels, they release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and these are one of the leading causes of climate change and the climate crisis. Now, the Earth's climate naturally changes over long periods of time. That's why we've had ice ages in the past. We actually need a certain amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. They act a bit like a blanket, keeping us warm and trapping in some of the sun's heat. Without them, the temperature on Earth would be minus 18 degrees Celsius, and we would all absolutely freeze. But what's happening is as we burn fossil fuels and release more greenhouse gases, that layer is getting thicker. We've basically put a second blanket around the planet. You can imagine yourself, if you put on one blanket, you'd be nice and warm and toasty. But after a short amount of time with 2 blankets on, you'd get very, very warm very, very quickly. And climate change has lots of negative effects on the world we live in. Climate change is causing the temperature on Earth to increase, which sounds lovely in theory, but in reality, it's not great. Because of climate change, we are seeing a lot more extreme weather events like floods, droughts, storms, and forest fires. These are happening more regularly, and they're also getting more severe. And we've seen some of these effects here in Ireland. It is a huge problem affecting people all over the world, and we need to change things and make a difference. Climate change is also causing the ice caps at the North and South Poles to melt, and glaciers like this one in Argentina, which means sea levels will rise across the globe. These two images were taken just over 80 years apart, and you can see how much of the ice has melted in that time. But what can we do? If we use less energy and switch to renewable sources of energy, we can reduce the amount of fossil fuels and non-renewable sources of energy we consume. That means we can also reduce the amount of greenhouse gases going into the atmosphere. Pause the video here and have a brainstorm and see how many methods of saving energy you can think of. You could even make posters in groups to teach your schoolmates how they can make a difference. Here are some simple things that we can all do to save energy. We can turn off the lights when we're leaving a room or when we're leaving the house for the day or to go out and about. We can make sure not to leave electronics on standby. You're much better off unplugging appliances, as leaving them on standby still uses energy. Plus, it'll save you some money too. We should walk or use public transport or our bikes whenever we can. Or we could give each other lifts to reduce the amount of cars that are on the road at any one time. We should all reduce, reuse, and recycle at home and at school. And using compost bins is a great option as well. It takes a lot of energy to make new things, so it's better to use things for longer and to recycle them when we're finished. If you're chilly at home, just put on an extra layer instead of turning on the heating, especially if you're the only one who's cold. We should use energy-saving and LED light bulbs at home, and we should always close doors and windows whenever the heating is switched on. I bet you came up with some of those ideas yourselves, but hopefully there's a few new ones in there as well. There are also some really cool gadgets we can use to save electricity, from solar-powered phone chargers to wind-up torches to eco modes on our washing machines and dishwashers, which clean things on a lower temperature. There's lots of ways to live our lives while being a little bit kinder to the environment and to the planet. In some countries around the world, communities of people rely on local sources of energy, as there are no pipes or power plants to share energy sources with other nations. So in some countries, people burn wood or peat to heat their homes and to cook their food. But in some areas where it's very sunny, like in Namibia, they build solar ovens to cook their food using sun's energy. How cool is that? Or how toasty is that? We've sent along some bonus activities that you can do to investigate renewable sources of energy a little more and see the kinds of impacts our actions can have on the world. I hope you enjoyed the workshop today. My name is Ali, and we at the Rediscovery Centre thank you for joining us today. And hopefully we can see you all again very, very soon. Bye.